Hello learners, welcome to Learn to Empower. In this series, we are discussing about the UPSC Mains 2020-21 analysis. We have completed with the GS1 paper. In this session, we will be dealing with the GS2 paper. GS2 paper is very important because it includes the base of India, that is polity. It also includes governance, right? It also includes international relations. So what are these topics means? These topics are how the country is governed, how the country's outlook is there with respect to the international relations. It also talks about social justice. So this paper is very important, and sometimes this paper seems technical, but the general answer is expected from a candidate. So let's see how this year's paper was turned out to be, and we will be discussing these answers in not in very detail, but we'll be giving a brief how the answer could have been attempted. Now, the first question says constitutional morality. Constitutional morality is a keyword here, is rooted in the constitution itself and is founded in its essential facets. Explain the doctrine of constitutional morality with the help of relevant judicial decisions. So, first of all, you need to have a clarification regarding what is constitutional morality, right? So, in general, what is morality? Morality is something which talks about what is right and what is wrong. So a differentiation of what is right and what is wrong is clearly said in morality. What is moral values? Moral values are the individual beliefs, right? If somebody believes in equality for all, that is a moral value, and that becomes the moral value for entire society. So a moral value of an individual can become the moral value for the entire society, right? When this entire society believes in certain moral values, that entire society value can be converted into something called as constitutional morality, right? There are some things which are not being recognized by society as a constitutional morality, but the constitution itself given those as moralities. I'll give you very good examples of constitutional moralities. For example, you take right to equality is a constitutional morality, right? You take right to freedom of speech is a constitutional morality. We are living in a democracy where each and every individual have a freedom to talk in the society or freedom to express his opinions in the society. So that is called as constitutional morality. If you remember, right to freedom of religion is one of the constitutional morality. So what does this prove? These are the constitutional moralities that is been there or imbibed in our constitution. Article 17, which abolishes the untouchability, is also a constitutional morality, right? Our entire fundamental rights is a constitutional morality. Our entire DPSP is also a constitutional morality. For example, about Article 44 talks about uniform civil code is also kind of constitutional morality, because our individual personal laws has some lacunas, right? Our individual personal laws has some kind of degrading thing that has been there, so that need to be abolished. So our fundamental rights, our DPSPs are the constitutional moralities. But there are certain Supreme Court judgments which also explains about this constitutional morality. For example, if you remember, there was a case in Maharashtra where the girls dancing in a bar is being banned by the government, but the court came and said it's not the government who defines the morality, it's the society which need to define the morality, right? Government of the day cannot come and say these are the rules of morals, but it is the constitution, it is the moral values of the society that defines, right? Because in that particular judgment, the argument from the dancers are that that is their livelihood. When they lose their livelihood, they will be forced to the prostitution, right? Compared to the prostitution, dancing in the bar is far better, because these are the moral values of the society that defines from time to time, and there are many relevant judgments by the Supreme Court and many high courts that also relates to constitutional morality. For example, you take there used to be a practice in Karnataka where the people in surrounding the villages of the temple used to roll on the food eaten by the Brahmins, right? That was banned by the Karnataka High Court. I think it is a Madhe Snana kind of thing that has been there, right? So these are the constitutional moralities that is there in Indian Constitution, and that has been cited by the Supreme Court in many of its judgments. So this can be a very good answer. Now, moving to the next question. Discuss the desirability of greater representation to women in the higher judiciary to ensure diversity, equity and inclusiveness, right? This answer is very direct. It talks about the challenges. It is asking about the challenges that you need to define in why the woman is not getting into the higher position of the judiciary, because we aspire the woman to be in as a position of MLAs and MPs in the parliament, right? But there is very less talk of women in the higher judiciary. The role of women in the highest judiciary is very important, because the environment in the court will turn out to be an inclusive, it turn out to be equity, it turn out to be inclusiveness, and also diversity it shows, right? There can be many kind of judgment that can be women can cite, have a different perspective, and that brings a different understanding. I want to give a very good example, the recent Sabarimala judgment that came by the 5-judge bench of Supreme Court, where the woman judge has said the banning of women entering into the temple is valid. The reason cited by the temple authorities is valid. So we need to get a different perspective in this kind of judgments. Don't criticize any judgment in without looking into the length and breadth of that particular judgment and analysis. When we go into deeper analysis of the particular judge and why she said that the entry to the woman is not, if it is not allowed, it's fine as per the temple's authority, then you will understand what are the perspective that has been given. So these are the representations, or the greater representation of women is certainly necessary in the here. And you write about the challenges why they are not able to come to the higher ranks of judiciary. You talk about the collegium system also, which is actually kind of how do I say, kind of not encouraging the woman into the higher judiciaries, right? So because it's a closed group, and only the people having the contact with the collegium system is been recommended by the judges. It's been criticism. I'm not saying it's a foolproof as a thing, but it's a kind of criticism put by the media houses and also by the people, many were there in the judiciary as well. Now moving on to the next question. How have the recommendations of the 14th Finance Commission, please remember it's not about the 15th, but rather it is asking about the 14th Finance Commission of India, enable the states to improve their fiscal position. First of all, you would define what is fiscal position of the country, or you could start with the Finance Commission. Article 280 of the Indian Constitution defines and constitutes Finance Commission. Finance Commission is famously called as fiscal wheel of the country, right? It's a fiscal wheel of the country. Now it is asking about how the 14th Finance Commission recommendations. The 14th Finance Commission recommendations, there are many recommendations that has been given by 14th Finance Commission. It is for the first time consider the forest cover of the state. It also increase the financial devolution to the states. I think it's to 32%. Please recheck it. So these are the things that has been done by the 14th Finance Commission. Based upon the 14th Finance Commission, now recently the 15th Finance Commission, which was constituted, also works on the principles of the 14th Finance Commission. So 14th Finance Commission rules and regulations and the recommendations given by it becomes very, very important, and please go through it and you'll have a better perspective in understanding, because this question could be repeated in the next year also, citing the 15th Finance Commission and what are the other factors that has been considered by the 15th Finance Commission, right? Now, to what extent, in your view, the Parliament is able to ensure accountability of the executives in India? So it is asking your view, but we don't have to get our personal views here, but we'll generally stick to the major answer that is being given here. Now it is asking about the parliament. Let us say this is a parliament house, and there will be like around 545 members that is been in the Lok Sabha, and in the Rajya Sabha it is 250 members, right? So in everything, the executive is responsible to the legislatures, right? So the point here need to be noted that in your view, the Parliament is able to ensure accountability. Yes, it ensures the accountability. How? One, there is a Public Accounts Committee, there is Estimate Committee, right? So there are many parliamentary committees which are making the executive responsible to their policy decisions. First. Second, there are question hours in the Parliament, right? During the question hour, whether it is a 0 hour or a question hour, it is directly asked to the representatives of the Parliament, representatives of the people, right? It can be to the people, it can be to the executives, right? So in this way, they are held responsible. And fourth, for example, there is something called as no confidence motion, right? In case of no confidence motion, it is also like entire government made held responsible here again. So these are the reasons can be cited. But on the other hand, the Parliament is not able to do, because one of the important route, that is ordinance, right? Frequent ordinances that has been there. If you remember the farm laws initially when it was enacted, it was an ordinance, right? It was an ordinance. So ordinance routes first. Second is the subordinate rules. What I mean by this, please understand, the subordinate rules are nothing but when Parliament makes a law that is called a skeleton law. For example, Citizenship Amendment Act, right? It made a skeleton law, but it is executives who makes the rules and regulations of the particular law. For example, the Citizenship Amendment says, except Muslims, Hindus, Christians, and other people from the neighboring countries can get the citizenship. But it is the rules and regulations is not defined by the parliament. It is the executive's order which says that what should be the proof that you stayed here. Let us say if somebody the rules are made like Aadhaar card is your proof. So it is not made by the parliament. It is by the rules and regulations of the subordinate members, right? Subordinate, these are called subordinate rules. But ultimately these rules are to be passed by the parliament. But you can understand there won't be any deliberate or discussions on these rules. It is just as simple. It is passed as a simple majority, right? So it's a namesake passing. So this is called something that the parliament is not able to get the executives to its hold. Now these are the answers that points that can be cited in this answer. So let's move on to the next answer. Pressure groups play a vital role in influencing the public policy making in India. Explain how the business associations contribute to the public policies. Now in the introduction you could have written about the pressure groups. What are pressure groups? Right. Pressure groups are the group of people or group of business or group of individuals that come together with a common idea, ideology, right, to put forward their points to the government. Example, business associations. Example, farmer associations, right? If you see in the recent protest by the farmers, it is a farmers union that were protested. It's not the individual farmers. It's a farmers union, and they were able to successfully repeal the farm laws, right? These are the pressure group. This is the example that you can cite. Now, other examples of this come ASOCHAM, Association of Commerce Industries, right? And there is a FICCI. These are the industry bodies that forms a pressure group. The pressure group, as an individual, my voice cannot be heard by the government, but when I come and join as a pressure group, then the voice can be heard. It's not only restricted to the businesses, but also there are caste groups. You can see in the recent election that has been happening in Uttar Pradesh and other states, you can see the caste group role becomes very, very important. I'm not going whether this is correct or not, but these are the pressure groups that is there in the society. For example, you take political parties, right? These are also pressure groups. Now this question is asking about, yes, pressure groups in policy making, certainly yes, you can write these as an examples. Next, how these business associations contribute to the public policies. Now pressure during the time of budget, if the budget is going to come in just 10 days, now you can see there are many pressure groups that were demanding certain kind of changes in the budget, or they were expecting certain things in the budget, right? So this can be influenced, this is being influenced in the many years in the past. Also the pressure groups plays an important role in the policy making. Now moving to the next question. Besides being a moral imperative of a welfare state, primary health structure is a necessary precondition for sustainable development, right? Now in the introduction you could have written about what is welfare state. India is a welfare state, and you could have cited the DPSPs, certain provisions of the DPSPs which directly says about India as a welfare state, not a police state. So what does mean by welfare state? Here the government works for the welfare of the people, right? I think it is in Article 36 and 37 that mentions the welfare of the people as a welfare state, that is India. Now here it is primarily not talking about the primary health care. Please remember, health is a state subject, right? So who is responsible for creating the primary health care? It is the states. Did states have created? Yes, certain states have created. For example, Telangana, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka. They have created a very good infrastructure. But what are the states that have failed? Northeastern states, because of topography and many other policy paralysis. Bimaru states like UP, Bihar, Odisha, they were not able to create. So there is a clear-cut division of the primary health care in rural India as well as the urban India. So that need to be catered, because during the time of COVID, what we realized is that the health infrastructure of India is very, very less, right? Government aspires to spend something 4% of GDP to health infrastructure, but till now it is not been done. So that could be the way forward. It talking about sustainable development, you could have cited sustainable development numbers to cater the primary health care or the health overall. And India should aspire for something called as universal health coverage, right, which is very important, which is also important not only perspective of the people's health, but also the healthy people can contribute to the economy, and India can have very good population in this during demographic dividend, and we can reap the benefits. Right. This is something our idea of Amartya Sen also. Please go through the Amartya Sen idea of bottom up approach. You will understand health and education. He talks about health and education. So yeah, now earn while you learn scheme need to be strengthened to make the vocational education and skill training meaningful. Right. This is very important. Knowledge is different from skills. What is knowledge and what is skill? For example, you have a knowledge, right, how to go from one place to another place, right? You want to travel from Chennai to Hyderabad. You have a knowledge that yes, I need to take the car or a bus or a train. This is a knowledge. But what is a skill? The traveling part, how safely you travel, right? On which how cheap you will travel. So those are skills. For example, if somebody has a skill to assemble the parts of the phone, so that is a skill. Having a phone, right? You have a knowledge that there exists a phone, but how to make a phone is a skill. So in India, the skill knowledge part, India we have focused from centuries, but we need to focus on skills now because our economy is moving very rapid. Our people need to be made skilled, right? In there are recent surveys that the engineers who are out, the 60 to 70% of engineers are not employable according to the market needs. So what is the lacuna? The industrial and education institution are not in line with the market demands. Second, apart from industrial education institutions, but also the education and skill is not in line with. So our government program like skill development, there is a separate ministry that was established, the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. So those can be encouraged to have a meaningful, so that the people in the while learning they can earn certain money. For example, you can cite some of the examples from the Delhi government, like it is taking a school children giving up the ideas from the startups, so that startup idea can be converted into full course business. Right, this is an encouragement from the union territory government. Why can't we implement in the state level or at the central level? Now, can the vicious cycle of gender inequality, poverty and malnutrition can be broken through the microfinancing of a woman SHGs, self-help groups? SHGs means self-help groups. Explain with examples. I'll cite the examples first. One, there is a Kutumbashree program of Kerala. Right. There is some similar Kanya Sukalnya some program from West Bengal government. Please have a clear understanding of the program. I forgot the name. Now you should understand this question talks about gender. It talks about inequality, poverty and malnutrition. See, this is a vicious cycle. For example, gender, here I am specifically talking about women, right? When women are malnourished, the child that is born out of the woman is also malnourished, right? Why this malnutrition is taking place? Because of the poverty, because of the dire the situation they have, right? The poverty is there because of the inequality in the society. What is this inequality talks about? If you read about the Oxfam report which is came recently, like top 1% people having the lots of money or the wealth rather than the people who are at the bottom. Now you can understand this inequality is causing the poverty, this poverty is causing the malnutrition, the malnutrition is causing gender divide. It can be other way around also, because of the woman is not getting paid equal money for the equal work, and there isn't an inequality, that inequality leading to poverty and poverty leading to malnutrition. So this is a vicious cycle that need to be tackled from the very starting stage, and that need to be catered to the overall understanding of the society and especially the Indian society. Now moving to the next question. The last few decades were of Asia's growth story. The next few expected to be Africa's. Very important. In the light of this statement, examine India's influence in Africa in the recent years. It's very simple. Earlier, it was the Western countries that were grown. Then, after 1980s, the growth story shifted to Asia. Why? Because of the cheap availability of labor. Right, the industries that were there in the West, they were shifting towards the China, especially for the cheap available labor. Now it has been cited the next decade is Africa. In this answer, you could have written, you could have drawn a good map of the world, and you could have explained that yes, this is the condition. Let me draw the map. Right, now it was, this is the first, this is the second, now this is the third. Understanding and realizing this, China has taken a huge step in investing in Africa. They have taken a really good steps in investing in Africa, especially in infrastructure. But what is Chinese way of investing in the Africa is that it is called as predatory investment. What does that mean? It means that they make the country bankrupt. Right, they make the country to indulge in so much debt that they were not able to pay in the near future. The same as the case with the Sri Lanka, also in the Hambantota port. Right, this is the one thing. How India is taken the initiatives for in Africa's growth story. We have invested in education of African people. We have invested in wealth creation. Right, we have a soft corner, or I would say soft diplomacy with respect to African countries. So we have not invested aggressively in the Africa, but we have taken we want a people to people contact. For example, we have taken something initiative called as Solar Mamas. Please read about it, where Indian government is helping the women of the African region so that they can repair the solar panels by their own and they can set up in their house. It's a self-sufficient initiative. Right, India and Japan has taken many initiatives together. Asia-Africa Growth Corridor. If you remember, Asia-Africa Growth Corridor, that has been taken by India and Japan, who are consistently investing in African region. We are not investing as such what China has done, but we certainly invest in the people, so that people remembers us. Right. Now, the 10th question, USA is facing existential threat in the form of China. That is much more challenging than the erstwhile Soviet Union. It directly talks about the Cold War. Right, when the Cold War started in 1960s, which was continued till 1991, right, now this was a period between USA and USSR. Now this era is gone. Right, now the USSR become, it was diluted, the economy of Russia gone down, the inflation is very high, so everything is happening with respect to the Russia. Now Russia is not considered that superpower when compared to the China. China, on the other hand, has grown a huge in terms of economy and also military. See, the China, if it is grown like this, the economy like I think it's growing around 10 to 12% per year. Right. If it is grown like this, it is certainly estimated that by 2035 to 2040, China will overtake USA's economy. So, but still USA remains as a more military power. Right. Militarily, USA remains a more power. So this creates a contradiction, because by 2040, USA will have less economy than China, but USA will have more military strength than China. So this creates a contradiction. This contradiction will lead to certain kind of disrupt in the market and in the world countries and its influence. Now it's a USA which has more economy, and now it's a USA which has more military power. So it remains stable. But when the equation changes to this, then there will be a conflict of interest that arises in the market, and we need to see how this is going to be proceeded. So this is the question that talks directly about it, and what are the challenge that you see. There is a trade war that is already going on, and in terms of earlier it was Cold War, now it's a trade war, right? So you could have written those as an examples, and which would made very good sense now. Now let's see about the 11th question. The jurisdiction of Central Bureau of Investigation, which is nothing but CBI, regarding lodging an FIR and conducting probe within a particular state is being questioned by various states. However, the power of the state to withhold the consent to the CBI is not absolute. Explain with special reference to federal character of India. First of all, you write what is meant by federalism in India, right? Then you write about CBI. Central Bureau of Investigation, it's an executive body that was formed by the resolutions of the executive order. You can write about that. Then you cite what are the powers that CBI has. Now write the examples in recent times, especially West Bengal, Andhra Pradesh has withdrawn something called a general consent. General consent to CBI. Now you can also cite examples of various states as well, but restricting that, you should write about the CBI power in investigating the corruptions and other matters which is referred by the president directly. Now, even though the general consent is withdrawn by the states, but you need to understand that when the case is already going on, the states cannot withdraw, right? In case of special circumstances where the state, when the center is required that the particular case has to be inquired, then the state cannot restrict. So the absolute power of the state is not necessary. Earlier, when the general consent was given, after that there is no subsequent consent has been required. But now, when the general consent is required, then subsequent consent can also be required from the state. So that's how the politics has been played. But we don't have to get into politics, but we need to stick to the correct answers here. Now, next. Though the human rights commissions have contributed immensely to the protection of human rights in India, yet they have failed to assert themselves against the mighty and powerful. Very important. Analyzing their structural and practical limitations such as the remedial measures. Write about National Human Rights Commission. Write about State Human Rights Commission. Right. Give the provisions of National Human Rights Commission and State Human Rights Commission. Now you say this Human Rights Commissions, its recommendations is just a recommend to the state, but not on a compulsion. And the compensation, it says it's also suggestion, not a compulsion. So these are the things that has already been there, but you can understand the recent times why this question has been asked, because of the political tyranny that has been there in the states. For example, the police tyranny is also there, especially in case of encounter. You might have seen in UP. In case of Hyderabad, when there was a big issue of happened, and the next within 4 days the accused were shot dead by the police, right, in the police encounter. So in these cases, the National Human Rights Commission is very I would say not in an exact position to handhold the police or the political tyranny here. So let's keep these political issues apart from this answer. We need to stick to the core answer. Write about National Human Rights Commission, State Human Rights Commission, analyze the structure, the recent amendment that has been there, like the tenure was reduced like to 3 years. So those can be cited, and we can analyze the answer in this perspective. Now, analyze the distinguishing features of notion right of equality in the Constitution of USA and India. It is talking about the Article 14. You analyze the Article 14 right to equality from the perspective of USA and from the India in different how it has been provided. It is nothing but the comparison of the constitutions, right? Various comparisons of the constitution that has been cited. The USA is one particular example, and we in the fundamental right has taken certain things from the USA directly. In one of that is right to equality. In USA, you say the right. There are two basic rights: right to equality, right is equal protection of right. So in this case, one is taken from USA and the other is taken from the UK. So you will understand, you will compare these two and how the citizens have been treated, especially with respect to the fundamental rights is concerned. You will be writing all these things. Now, and one more important, in the fundamental rights in case of USA is absolute, while in case of India is not absolute, right? It can be amended. Now, explain the constitutional provisions under which legislative councils are established. Review the working and status of the legislative councils with a suitable illustration. This is a very direct answer. You write about legislative councils. Let us, I'll give a brief about it. In a state, generally, there will be legislative assembly and legislative council. This legislative council is not compulsory to establish because only hardly I think 8 states in India have this legislative council. Legislative assembly is present in all the states, even in union territories as well. What are the union territories that we have? Delhi, Puducherry, and now in Jammu Kashmir. Right. So while the legislative council is hardly present, like I think UP has it, Andhra Pradesh has it, Tamil Nadu used to have, they have abolished it. So now it is not there. So it's like, what are the constitutional provisions you have, and you write about the strength of the legislative council. It depends upon the strength of the legislative assembly. So it's just a political body that is there, that who are lost in the general election, they'll get one more chance to get into the legislative council through the nomination by the governor or through the graduate votes, so on and so forth. So we'll write, it's not very analytical answer, it's very direct. Now, do department related parliamentary standing committees keep the administration on its toes and inspire the reverence for the parliamentary control? Evaluate the working of such committees with suitable example. This is also very direct answer. You write about the department parliamentary committees, right? Department parliamentary standing committees. Why the standing committees are there? Standing committees are there to do what? To hold the executives responsible. One thing. Second, the parliamentary committees are also there for the research on a particular topic. For example, if you want to make a policy regarding the women welfare, that the parliamentary committee, after studying the bill, will recommend certain changes to the bill. Right? These are changes that you can implement. So this is cited as a research for the particular bill. Right? So yes, administration to its toe and inspire the reverence of the parliamentary control. Yes, this parliamentary committees will ensure the executive is responsible to the entire parliament, because they are the one who actually goes in dwelling the details of the particular bill. Right? Evaluate the working of such committee with suitable examples. You write about the public accounts committee, right? You write about the estimate committee. There are many committees that is there, parliamentary standing committees. You can write about this, and in the conclusion you could write about ad hoc committees also. In the recent time, the ad hoc committees has been increased, but at the same time, the parliamentary many bills in the parliament has not been referred to the parliamentary committees, so that need to be done. That will ensure the greater accountability of the executives to the people. Now, has digital illiteracy, particularly in rural areas, coupled with the lack of information and communication technology accessibility, hindered the socio-economic development? Examine with justification. It simply talk about the digital divide. The broader answer is digital divide. This digital divide happened not because of the people are not willing to learn, but because of the COVID is a primary reason. Primary reason is a COVID, but before that also the digital divide was very much clear because people were not able to understand, right? The government digital initiatives, right? Now there is something called a Vidya Saksharata Abhiyan by the government. Right? It was, to a certain extent, it was successful. And based upon that, we were implementing. Now you understand, when you take money out of your bank, you will get a message and you understand it. When you go to the rural areas, this is not the case, right? The Aadhaar, mobile and Jan Dhan account. So Jam Trinity, which were hailed as the Guinness Book of World Record, has lacunas in itself. Why? The people are not able to understand how the system is working. Right, to a certain extent, many people were able to understand. Still, there is a lot of people that has to be come into fourfold. Second, you talk about the school education. People who studied in private education were able to cope up with the online classes. But what about the government school? Right, now it has been through the television. They have been sending the lectures, but how feasible it was? Right, so there are many reports that's been cited that the many people were left out of education, and the formal education that has been left for many decades, not decades, many generations now, because it's almost 2 years or 3 years of COVID, and there is a lack in the digital understanding of the literacy. Now, though women in the post-independent India have excelled in various fields, the social attitude towards the woman and the feminist movement has been patriarchal. Apart from the women education and women empowerment schemes, what intervention can help in this milieu? See, this is very important, directly talking about the women empowerment. See, women empowerment is a very common topic that has been asked by UPSC now and then, right? So every paper will have one or the other topic related to the woman. Like earlier it was the woman judge, now it is woman empowerment, directly about the society. Now the quotes directly says, though the women in the post-independent in India have excelled in the various fields. You can write about anti-Iraq movement, like anti-liquor movement it is, right? There is something called a Chipko movement, right? This is also led by women. And the farming community, entire farming community after the independence was taken by the women because men were migrating to the urban areas. So this can be cited. Feminist movement has been patriarchal. The social attitude towards the woman and the feminist movement has been patriarchal. See, these and all seen as against the patriarchy. Now, you should understand, apart from the women education and women empowerment schemes, what intervention can change this milieu? What intervention can be changed? It's a societal attitude need to be changed. Now it is changing, right? The law and order should be implemented with proper sense. Law and order. Next, it is also something very important that the school education needs an intervention. So these are some of the examples that can be cited for for broader answer. And this is a really tough question to understand, but it seems easy when you go in details. Now, can civil society and non-governmental organization present an alternative model to the public service delivery to benefit the common man? Discuss the challenges to the alternative model. It's very simple. Civil society on the one hand and non-governmental organizations. These are part of what? These are the part of governance. Now, this is the government. Government in many years tried to reach the rural part of the India or the untouched part of the society, but government failed to certain extent to reach to those areas. But these civil societies and NGOs have done the same, right? So these are considered as alternative to the governance model. For example, government believed in the NGOs and called something called a corporate social responsibility. The corporate social responsibility, where the 2% of the last 3 years profit is been given to the NGOs or to the civil societies for what? For welfare of the people, right? There are many NGOs. If you remember, in Maharashtra there is something called as Pani Foundation, right? These are the examples you can be cited. Pani Foundation, which worked for the welfare of the people of Maharashtra, especially in the Vidarbha region. And they made in such a well contribution that the drought prone area over the years has turned out to be a water surplus area, right? You need to understand something called a watershed, concept of watershed. They have turned into it, right? These are the examples that can be cited. And can there be an alternative model? Yes, there can be alternative model, but what is the challenges that we have? For example, first challenge, that is foreign funding, right? The foreign funding of certain NGOs is actually stopping the developmental activities of the government. Even though there are many positive sides, but it has been asking as a challenge, so we'll cite this as one of the challenge, right? What is the other challenge? The governance structure of NGOs is not reliable. Third, the NGOs is used to garb on the name of the NGOs. There are many illegal and illicit activities are taking place, like especially human trafficking is one such thing, right? I'm not talking about Kailash Satyarthi's movement. He done a very good movement and improving the society at large. But there are many NGOs on the name of doing societal welfare, but they're not doing it. Now, critically examine aims and objectives of SCO. What is SCO? Shanghai Cooperation Organization. What is importance does it hold for India? Recently, Iran joined SCO. This is the context why the question was asked. Now, you should understand, you draw a map of SCO countries, right? And inside these are the SCOs, and you write the challenges that SCO has. SCO has some kind of like RATS, right? Anti-terrorist organization that was established here, and it also has some kind of initiative that has been taken in Tashkent Declaration, right? Everything is been given in the current affairs, right? You could have, if you have gone through it, you could have easily understood. But you should understand the SCO's objective is both political as well as military. Primarily, it serves the interests of China. Why? Because if this is considered China, this part of China, you have Uyghur Muslims, right? And there are serious human rights violations done by China, right? China thinks this part of region can be, become victim to the terrorism. So they are doing, in the name of anti-radicalization, they are doing some sort of human rights violation that has been there. So these are the challenges that is there with respect to the SCOs, that India is not bound by these values, right? So yes, this can be cited. Now, the newly tri-nation partnership, that is AUKUS, AUKUS, is aimed at countering China's ambition in Indo-Pacific region. Is it going to supersede the existing partnership in the region? Discuss the strength and impacts of AUKUS in the present scenario. This is very direct and very important. Give an introduction to AUKUS. What are the countries that is involved? Australia, USA and UK. Right, these are the countries that is involved. Now, one point to be understood, there is already an organization that is exists, an informal grouping, that is Quad. Quad has 4 countries: USA, Japan, India and Australia. What is the extra country that we have? That is UK. UK don't have here, right? These are the countries already participated in many military exercises like Malabar, which UK is also part, right? So sometimes UK is also part of this. Now you can understand, yes, these are the partnership that is already existing in the region. Can it is a counter to already existing region? Certainly not, because India also clarified many times that this is not a counter or a competitive organization. This is like coordination, right? So the AUKUS was formed primarily basis to counter China in Indian Ocean region, because this region, Indian Ocean region that we generally talk about, right? Sorry, just a second. The Indian Ocean region, right? We want it to be rule-based order. China started investing many in the Indian Ocean region, for example, Sri Lanka, for example, Maldives, for example, Mauritius, for that matter. So China starts investing in these regions, then this creates some kind of a disorder in the region. So we need to have a clear understanding what is the Chinese strategy of it, because I want you to study something called as Malacca dilemma. This is how the China's foreign policy has been had termed in these recent years, right? Malacca dilemma is a one such thing where the China is also investing in its OBO, or One Belt One Road organization, and its string of pearls theory. So these are the examples, or these are the theories that can be cited for AUKUS and countering China in this region, with it is not as such to the countering to the already existing organizations. So based on this, a very good answer can be written, and by this we will end this session. And if you have got benefited from this session, please like and share, and I'll be coming up with many series like this. Till then, take care. Thank you.